parking lot here, and they'll pull up to the door in the back there where they've always been letting people off. So that hasn't changed, that door by the art room. As the kids get out the bus, they'll go down and they'll enter that same door. So this will be paved Saturday. We're going to be paving this. We're going to be paving the out to the road, the access drive. Now the access drive is just going to be for buses only, just like we had it that last year. The far drive was for buses only. So this is going to be buses. Parents are going to come in here, work their way around, and then they can come out and back out of the parking lot.
Same thing they were doing last year.
Same thing, essentially. It's just now they have a little bit more space. And this will be, just the binder course will be on the pavement, just the bottom course, and then they'll temporarily stripe it for parking spots. But you can see all the drainage structures are in. Those all get piped to underground infiltration systems, those orange things that you see there. Those are some additional infiltration systems that haven't been installed yet that are going to go over in that area once we get into that area. But so this will be a temporary, and they'll pave everything at the end all at once. So when the project is at the final phase, they'll do the final paving throughout, and a nice clean finish for the opening of the entire building.
So how do those orange things actually work?
Just they hold water, and the water just infiltrates into the ground.
It's like a catch fish?
Yeah, it's just a dry well essentially. They sit on stone, and there's stone all around them. And this whole area is just sand, so everything just drains right in.
So periodically those need to be cleaned out and stuff?
Probably not.
No?
No, they're buried.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one kind of back behind the high school. There's a couple on the other side of the
water
elementary.
going in there. There's no sediment.
Okay, so it's not like a storm sewer.
So it is somewhat like that.
Well, I mean, the same concept.
Well, you'll have sumps in your that'll collect it as it goes in. And you'll see one of the structures over there that has those kind of partitions to kind of collect the heavier stuff that might get into the system, so it can be cleaned out. So you can kind of see the blue inside that hole right straight ahead. That's, if you looked in there, you'll see some sort of baffles to pick up any kind of larger sediment before it gets into that system. So the new fire pump house is going to be back there. You can see the concrete starting to come up out of the ground. That's going to be your foundation for the fire suppression system, and also that'll be where your pumps for your new well are going to be located.
Is that a building out, that blue thing out there? Is that another building?
Not in summertime. Yeah, I like it.
So a lot of site activity over the summer. All the infrastructure that was here was all removed and new infrastructure put back in. So a new grease trap outside the kitchen, a new oil tank. You see the old transformer, that's going to go away once the new transformer gets put in right here, and we have the new power. We're going to have a new propane tanks back in that area. So there was a lot of activity to pull all that old stuff out. There was an old water vault, I guess, a pumping station for an old well, I guess. So it was kind of a pass-through that was just abandoned in place, so that was had to be removed. So you can see that new pole down there at the end of the access drive has a lot of, going to have a lot of risers going up, where power is going to come down the pole underground, new transformer, and then into the new electrical room in the addition.
How are we heating? Is it propane or is it oil or?
Dual fire, so you can do one or the other.
Okay.
So this is obviously the back wall of your gymnasium. There will be a door over here to the corner, but you get a sense of the scale of that space. With the stage is the higher elevation area back there. So when this building is occupied, the student drop-off from parents can be right here. This is going to be your new front entry. Down behind all these structures down here will be some parking for people who are running in and out, just short visits. But you have, again, that whole big parking lot back there for staff parking. So this is Bill's new office. This is the admin and nurses suite right here. What you see where they haven't poured the concrete yet is going to be your gymnasium and then your main lobby. But your front door is right here. Yeah.
Where will the canopy be?
It's going to be right
here?
kind of where you're standing. So against, this is the admin wing, so it's pretty much runs along parallel to this.
So because they haven't poured the floor, we'll kind of skirt around and go in the side.
Yeah, we've been
There's going to be a wall here. This is like 2 rooms.
Okay.
So this is the kindergarten, right?
Yep. So let's see, pre-K, K. These are those bump out window seated areas. And these parented classrooms here, and then the next set down.
So we're right over here.
That's cool.
So you have a shared bathroom for both rooms, and then a common space along the corridor.
Yeah, right there.
So there's going to be exposed ceiling. You have acoustical decking to keep the noise down all these little holes with insulation up there to keep the acoustics a little better in the classroom. So there'll be some lights and some other items up there, but it'll all be exposed structure. Yeah. It'll be painted.
Stuff from it.
So your main corridor is starting to get some of the, getting ready to put in some of the rough plumbing. You'll see some plumbing around, getting the roof drains and those sorts of things. The roof has started to go on. I believe this whole area actually now has roofing on it. And then they'll be working towards what they're calling Building B, which is the gym and the admin area and the lobby. But we can walk down and get a sense of the spaces, the corridor, and some of the classrooms. Boys and girls bathroom, down the hall. Those are
This is the first one. Isn't this the first or second?
Will be a skylight here where the corridors tee together.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dropped off, salvaged, somewhere there's a light bulb.
I can tell you, we're talking like an overburst in here, and always saw access.
Yes. Yeah, it just needs some
Great seats.
shaping. Yep, that will work.
So the windows are getting delivered next week, so you'll start seeing windows going in the addition. You can see the window openings have been boxed in with the wood, and that'll get a self-stick membrane over it, the blue stuff that you see on the bottom. Right now that basically is going to be continuing your vapor barrier up through your, it's attaching this stuff which goes under the slab as your vapor barrier, and it goes right up the wall, and there'll be a spray applied air vapor barrier on the wall itself. You can see all the joints have been mastic on all the joints. So this will really make it as tight as possible, energy efficient. You know, we have MSBA has a commissioning agent comes out and takes a look at the building envelope, and so they take a look at all this and come up and do periodic tests on different things. So it's all going very well.
So this
This side was the courtyard?
Yes, this is the courtyard.
What's happening with this side?
It's just,
Green space?
It actually goes out to the playground for the younger students. Good grass or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know if you all remember some of the renderings. So these two connecting corridors will have the metal panel on, as well as the gym. The gym will have that metal finish. The classroom wing will be masonry, similar to the original.
so they do have delivery of the metal panel. It's already on site. Brick is going to be showing up soon. The windows will go in, and then the exterior air vapor barrier, and then the finishes on the exterior will go on. So you won't see, once that happens, you won't see a lot from the road as you drive by, but there's a lot of work to do on the inside to kind of fill in that space. All right, we can cut through the courtyard. Could be a entry point. So once the building is completed, as the buses pull up, the kids will come down here, and there's going to be a covered canopy, and they'd be able to enter through a vestibule right over here, and then go into either the existing or the addition.
Are there doors right here or no?
There are doors
Just
Right
here,
there,
right
but
there.
nothing going from here to there?
No.
There will be a door?
Yeah.
And doors coming in and, no, not going out. I'm sorry.
Here, sorry, yeah.
Just here.
There and there, yeah. There will be a roof, yes.
So you got the doors coming in right
Yeah.
along here, this opening here. So there's
One behind me.
And then doors going out this way.
And a door right there too.
So
As such anymore, yeah.
we're going to have to kind of climb through.
So this is exactly
So this is,
End of next week or into the following week. So then this will get look a lot more finished than it currently does. But this is the cafeteria space. So all the rough mechanical has been done. The rough plumbing, they're starting to get the finished mechanical spaces in, items in, getting all the fire suppression system in. Won't be operational until the fire pump house is ready to go, but getting it in now and getting it in place. The new ramp going up to the platform. Had to rework with a lot of duct work in this space. Opened up the kitchen so that you have a rolling door for the serving line. A new area for the dishwasher area. Opened up what used to be a storage room in the back to be kind of another space that could be utilized. And otherwise, really the footprint of this space pretty much stayed the same except for that area down there.
This will make September? Will the kitchen be operable in September?
No, the kitchen will be. The plan is to train the staff in the kitchen the week of the 21st and be ready to go for the first day of school. Obviously, it'll have to have past inspection by health department and building department and everybody.
The sprinkler system won't be on because the pump house is not.
Correct. There wasn't.
Not here in.
You don't have one anyway, so it will be an improvement when this whole system is done. It just is get it up in the ceiling now.
Okay. Fire alarm and all that will be on.
Yes. Yeah, so over the next few days, they're going to be putting in the floor on the platform. They're going to be doing a lot of painting. The pads are going in starting tomorrow. They're going to cut in around the perimeter. And then lighting. You can see the width of the electrical wiring. This is ready for where the lights are going to be installed. So a lot of activity, a lot of people in these two spaces over the past month and a half. Let's go in the kitchen. You can kind of see that is really taking shape.
What's the alcohol over here, sir?
That's where it's going to be a built-in counter with a sink for dumping milk or getting water, and then built-in trash receptacles for, the be another station in the corner here, kind of same thing, dump out the milk, get rid of your trash. Actually, we did gain a little closet space from that old display case, which we plan to use to store stacking chairs.
So, new walk-in freezer, new walk-in refrigerator, a new hood and all the equipment, the steamers and the ovens and prep stations and prep sinks, hand sinks, a new serving line, new dishwashers and coolers. So this is, again, also, there's still work to be done in here, but this is scheduled to be ready for the start of school. They've already been making the connections to the sinks and doing some of the finished plumbing. The glass for the serving line will be going in shortly. They're kind of holding off on that just so that it doesn't get damaged by other trades. But you know, all the tile work has been done, new floor. This entire floor had been pulled up, all the concrete removed. Redid all the plumbing underneath the floor, all the electrical conduits and everything. Redid the walls and the layout of this space. So when they turn on the lights and put in the ceilings and clean it up a little bit, it's almost ready to go.
Now, see some insulation up there. Does insulation go somewhere else, or
No, I mean,
ceiling panels in it? Or?
yeah, those help. Wait till you see the lighting in here, it's pretty cool. They're big rings that will be pretty tight to the ceiling. But you know, it's a pretty uniquely shaped space, so we didn't see any reason to do something different.
What's the status of the rigging we asked to go over the stage? Is that gonna go in? Or the lights? You weren't there at the last meeting.
This bar is your new bar for the lights for the stage. And this alcove, this cove right here, is also going to be getting some, it's getting lights as part of the contract, but the infrastructure we talked about at this bar and providing some electrical.
We talked about having to do something with the power. Is that being done now?
Well, we got a cost. We broke out the lights, we asked for that, so we just got that and we're reviewing it. So obviously a lot of work yet to be done, but the finishes are going in, and that's really what the thing starts to make it look complete. So once the walls are painted and the ceiling is in, and then it's just putting the door and the lights, and, so they're in good shape. Any other questions, or we go back to the air conditioning at the media center?
Yeah, that's welcome. What happens back here? Is it gonna stay black, or is that gonna be exposed to?
No, it'll all get painted. I don't know what color. Helen might have an idea, but you can see some of the rigging that's up there for the curtains that are going to be going up.
You won't see it with the current setting.
Okay.
What's being done with the classrooms? Anything?
In this building?
Yeah.
No.
Not in this area now.
So that's when they move there.
February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody ready to begin? Okay, we'll go right to Collier's and for our update on the project.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So as you can see, a lot of activity going on the site, inside the building, in addition, inside the kitchen and cafeteria. So just quickly, what has been recent activity on the site is prepping for the paving. So as I mentioned, the paving is scheduled to take place this Saturday. Weather permitting, but it looks pretty good. A little sprinkler, a little rain isn't going to hurt it. If it's all out downpour, then that could be a problem. But right now things look good. But all that stormwater piping that's under that parking area and around the site, the different manholes and structures have been going in. Installation of the electrical duct bank from the new power pole at the street, and that's been coming up along the new access drive to the transformer location. And then there's also a duct bank that goes from that transformer location across the drive and into the new addition. And it's going to go into the electrical room. Installation of the holding tanks for the fire suppression system. There are two 20,000 gallon tanks. It was quite the hole back there. And it was a lot of sand. So as they hit the water table, digging, trying to pull that sand out, and it just immediately just goes right back. But they pumped it down and were able to get the tanks in. And the next issue will be filling them up, and they have been backfilled. The foundation walls around the tanks have gone in, and so they're getting ready to start the pump house.
Are they floating in the vault, or are they surrounded by gravel?
They're surrounded by pea stone.
Pea stone in the vault,
Yes.
4 sides?
No.
No, I know, okay,
No. They on 2 sides.
2 sides.
Also mentioned that the removal of the old systems, so there was the old oil tank. When that was removed, we had monitors out to make sure that there was no contamination of the ground soils in the area. So the good news was it came out clean. There was no compromises to the tank. Also, the old propane tank came out, the old grease trap, and there was also a vault for the water system. So it was an old pump, domestic water vault for pumping. So it had some power panels in there on the wall and some different equipment, but it was no longer being used, but the water pathway did still go through that. So that had to be removed, and the water line's been reconnected. Installation of the new tanks and all those various items that has gone in. Investigation of the existing electrical duct bank. There was some electric. We had to identify where it was and do a shutdown to understand exactly what was out there on site, and so that was took place. And I mentioned the fire pump house foundations have gone in. The building addition, underslab utilities installation at the mechanical and the electrical rooms, and so that was in that area where they hadn't poured the floor. There's a lot of conduits that are coming in, whether it be from those duct banks coming up in that location. The water service comes up through the floor in that location, so a lot of work that was coordinated and done, and now they're ready to pour those floor slabs. Exterior framing and sheathing, so a month ago, none of that yellow sheathing that you see around the building was installed. None of that, or they had just started putting up some of the exterior framing. So all that's been ongoing. The interior framing, so a lot of those classroom walls, I would say maybe, 90% of the interior framing has been installed. The structural steel was still going on at the gym area, or that part of the half of the building, so that has all now been completed. Roof blocking, the insulation and the roof membrane itself has been installed over the classroom wing, and they're working their way towards the admin and gym areas. Within the existing building, the kitchen and cafeteria renovation, you saw the quarry tile had been installed in the kitchen floor. The kitchen tile of the wall tile and wall panels has been installed for easy cleaning of that space for sanitary reasons. That was installed. Kitchen equipment is in the process of being installed. It's all been delivered, and now the rough piping going to it, electrical connections, water connections, and so forth is ongoing. A lot of duct work in those areas, in the kitchen, in the cafeteria, at the stage. So a lot of duct work has gone in, and the fire suppression piping is going in, and as you saw, even now the ceiling grid and some of the finishes are going in. So what's next? Our big milestone coming up is obviously the start of school. So over the next month, there'll be, again, the paving that's going to be going on this weekend. The new electrical transformer and feeders are going to be going in shortly. After the paving, the site contractor will start on sidewalks and curbing. The fire pump house is going to be taking shape. Propane tank installation is scheduled for the next few days. It's imminent. And then the various underground water piping for the fire hydrants around the school are going in. Actually, you may have seen some of the hydrants are in, but they're bagged so that nobody thinks they're active. In the addition, pouring the balance of the slab on grade, completing the framing of the exterior walls around the gymnasium and the admin area, above slab rough mechanical, electrical, and plumbing installation. So in the classroom wing, you saw some of the plumbing, piping going in, but now there'll be a lot more ductwork and electrical and additional plumbing going in. The new rooftop equipment will be getting installed. The membrane and insulation will be continuing, and windows are getting delivered next week, and those will start to get installed. Once we get the first couple windows in, we'll have the contractor seal those up, and then we'll bring in the commissioning agent, and we'll do an air and water test on the window system, make sure they're tight and no issues before they get too far along with installing a bunch of them and then having to repeat a correction again and again and again. So testing will take place pretty quickly. And then the vapor barrier is going to be sprayed on the yellow sheathing that you see. That all gets a thin layer of a sprayed on material that is your air and vapor barrier. And then with the kitchen ceiling installation, we mentioned that's going to be happening. The fine tuning or the finish, mechanical, electrical, plumbing installation. The rest of the finishes, the paint, the floor installation, the storefront, the glass and windows out front. So all that's really going to be taking place over the next month or so. We had our job meeting today. The contractor feels very good about where they're at on schedule. They have a lot of scheduled meetings with the authorities having jurisdiction, the fire marshal, the building official, the health department. So all those people are lined up and have already been in, but will be coming in to do their final inspections so that we're ready for the start of school. Any questions about progress to date or what's going to be coming up?
What is the start of school? What's the date?
31st.
Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, then they have a 3-day weekend. And then the 5th, they got that.
Any extra week? I have just a question. The two hot water tanks that are in the boiler room now, old existing, are those staying there for the school year?
Those are staying there, yes.
For the school year?
Yeah, because those are feeding the kitchen.
Okay, and then they're going to be gone?
Well, they'll be turned over to the owner once they're no longer required.
Okay. And the alarm system for the fire department, is that going to be up and running anytime soon? I have to have an inspection done before school starts.
Yes, so they're planning on, Griffin Electric, who is the electrical contractor, does that. So they're planning on doing their test before they bring out the fire marshal and do those testing. I don't have my notes from this afternoon. I don't remember if we talked about specifically what
Yeah,
we're doing that, but-
somewhat of a date. I have 2 weeks, my guy's coming out to give me a certificate.
Yeah, we can,
Unless your certificate is gonna
Right.
supersede mine.
What, do you have a date?
well, you're gonna have to do the whole rest of the building.
Right, so-
They're gonna wanna do probably a more thorough test in the renovated space.
Okay, well, everything, the panel will be clear, it'll be green,
Yes.
okay?
So the next sheet I have is the financial status on where we are. And so again, column A is our budget for the PFA, the project funding agreement with the MSBA. So that was $34,208,000 and change. So far, invoice to date has been $8 million. So there's still a long way to go, but we're about 25%, give or take. What we have contracted to date is only 27.9 of that 34. So there's still funds that have not been contracted. We haven't purchased furniture. We haven't purchased all the different services we're going to need that get purchased along the way. But so far we have commitments for just under $28 million.
The 34 includes the 2 contingencies.
Yes. Yeah, 34 is everything. So invoice this period, or really just this past month, is basically almost $2.1 million. I would venture to guess that 98% of that is for the general contractor. There's probably some other miscellaneous, OPM fees, architect's fees, and material testing fees, and some other minor expenses, but the bulk of that goes to the general contractor. Really, this doesn't list any changes, but we have one change order that we're processing. It's a credit, totals a credit of $26,411. So that's going through for signature now. So then we'll be processing that.
What was it for?
The bulk of it was for the water, or the well.
Tank. The tank, we talked about the tank and the well?
Well, the well system, going a shorter route, putting it into the fire suppression building versus excavating and redoing that. Because you remember, when we were talking about the well, when we had to put something in the documents, we didn't know what the water quality was gonna be. And so we wanted to get something in the documents, so we had something, instead of doing everything as a change order if it was required. But we were worried about what the water quality was gonna be, whether it was hard water. So a softening system was designed, and so really that's what we're getting back. We're getting the credit back for the shorter run of pipe and for that softening system that isn't required, because the water quality is better than we anticipate. There is
Shed, the prefab shed that we don't need
yeah,
any
the
longer.
prefab shed that we need. There is a tank in the old in the drawings, and the documents calls for a pressurized tank to go under the existing wood shed that you have, the water pump shed now. But really, that's no longer needed. And it could be a significant credit back to you if you decided not to install it. In the neighborhood of like $35,000 just for the tank, because it's a pressurized tank. So without really having a need for it right now, you kind of have money in the ground if you're not using it. So it's just something to consider. We would want to let the contractor know that don't purchase the tank if it's something that you want to consider to not do it.
When do you need the answer?
I would say sooner rather than later. I think, they're worrying about, the contractor's now worried about getting the building up and operational. But once school opens and they can kind of pull back and look at the project globally, they'll want to start thinking about doing that. One option is, just the tank, do you even need that shed anymore?
Yes,
Okay.
discuss that. It's just gonna be where all the piping connections are, so I'd like to have something
Keep it.
there, just to keep it. I already planned on painting it and making it a little bit better.
Okay. But the tank itself, you have an underground tank that is, the DEP says has to get decommissioned. Because it's been pressurized, it's been under the ground for so many years, and the worry is that it's rusted to a point where it could then explode if you have too much pressure on it.
Can it be scuttled, or it has to come out?
I don't know if they, like in an oil tank here, you can fill them with a sand or with some other inert material, and so you might be able to do that with that as well.
And that's, I think, a savings too, than pulling it out.
Absolutely. You would probably need to excavate down, they'd cut a hole in the top of it, and so it can't be used, and then fill it with sand. It's very similar to what they would do with the
We have
oil
to
tank.
dig up the whole area. I mean, that's the road, the parking lot, and it depends on the time you're doing it. Students would hopefully be during the summer when there's no school, but I think scuttling it would be cost effective and.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need it until the
Right.
new well is operational. So this fire pump house where the new well systems is going, that is gonna start coming up out of the ground, so to speak, over the next couple months. So we were talking today, as far as the timeline for that, we said that maybe early winter is when a point where that building would be at a point where it's sufficient to be able to turn over and start up the new well. So maybe late this year, November, December is when they could conceivably start up the new well. There is some additional testing that we need to do per the DEP. I think it was mentioned at the last meeting, because of the close proximity to the Air Force Base. There's a chemical that is used to foam to fire suppression that they want to make sure it didn't get into the water, groundwater.
Whitewater cannot do the testing.
Okay, so we did get a price from Sanborn Head, who is the consultant, and they can do it. I don't know how often it has to get done. It was just a one-time.
One-time initial startup is what I was told.
Okay, and it's just under $3,000 for that test.
Yeah, I talked to them, they can't do it. They'd have to get a subcontractor out here, and the price would be just a lot more.
Yeah, we reached out to Whitewater because they're your
Water testing.
yes, they're your subcontractor who does all your service now anyway. So figured we'd see if they could do it, but I guess they can't.
No, I mean, they're just not equipped. They don't have a pump, they don't have the wire, there's no power out there yet, so.
You're talking about the pump house way out?
Not the pump house, just the well.
Yeah.
They just need to get a sample from the well,
Alright.
400 feet down.
And that's about it.
Tim, I noticed doesn't seem like it's a big figure, but there's a star under architecture and engineering, section B, number 2.
Oh, printing?
Yeah, it's just for my curiosity more than a concern.
There's a little key down below, it says over current contract, so that we exceeded the budget on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not anything to worry about. I just thought I'd ask.
What we do need to do, and it's already in the works, is there is a what's called a budget revision request, which has to go into the MSBA, and essentially you're just moving money between different line items within the budget. And so it's been into the MSBA, and we're waiting for their everybody's eyes to look at it. They'll send back some comments if they have any comments, or if it's good, then the town will be getting a copy of it that they'll be requested to sign, and then return to the MSBA for final execution. And that's really this budget was developed, the project funding agreement budget was developed prior to bids. So the big portion of that budget revision request is making the changes in the actual construction contract and the value of how the bids came in versus what was originally budgeted. But that's it takes a long time, unfortunately, for it to go through the process. But it's been submitted, and we're just waiting to hear back. We should hear back in the next week or two.
Okay.
So where does the reimbursement get captured? This is all sort of the outflows and the contracts, but is there a reimbursement element to this? Like, I'm curious, how is that going? Are we getting what we need from the state at the right time?
You're not getting anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, I saw an email that came in today that they made a payment of $3.1 million back to the town.
Oh,
okay.
great.
There was
Right.
a payment that was made today.
That's good news, because
That's great news.
they don't do that until that budget revision request
I see.
is reviewed and approved. So I would suspect that, we'll get an email saying, here's your budget revision request, please sign and return within 12 days or whatever
Okay.
they give us. But, so we do have the MSBA eligible project costs, and then you have the calculated MSBA reimbursement. If you remember, you have a percentage that is what your reimbursement is, but that percentage is only on eligible costs, and not everything is equally eligible. So it gets really confusing, but we will be able to track it along the way up to 95%, and then the MSBA does a final audit, and then once that final audit is complete, then you get your final 5%. That audit is usually a good year after the project is completed, because they want you to have paid everything before they do that. And one of the things that needs to get done is you have to do a 10-month review of all your systems. So it takes a long time to get that final 5% reimbursement if you max out your grant.
And just curious, that's significant money. Are you guys still involved in helping us with that, or is that us doing it at
No, we're
Okay.
still involved.
All right, good.
Yeah, I mean, we may be in a better position because of the significant savings during
during the bid that we may not max out that grant based on the cost of the project being less, but we don't know that until until we get that budget revision back and then the paperwork gets signed. But,
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Ellen, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I can provide an update on the technology and FF&E processes. Pretty much it's high season right now for those two elements of the project. Both of those consultants are sort of in design in terms of what we're doing prior to going out either to bid or buying from contract. So for FF&E, we had a great meeting 3 weeks ago to kind of finalize all of the color choices, the furniture types, quantities of things with Bill. And that package is ready to go out for procurement, I'll say, early September, right after Labor Day. Stifora Associates is our consultant for that work, and they've devised a good strategy for kind of getting the best bang for the buck in terms of buying off of state contract, things we know we want. They know they're going to get the lowest prices on. There's state contract, there's Mass Higher Educational Collaborative, I think is the name of that contract. 2 contracts we plan to purchase directly from, as well as a very large bid package. So with bidding, you may not get exactly what you want, but they're structuring it so that we can, either accept all items within a bid package or go line by line. That strategy will allow us to hit the target budget. Right now, we're very close with their estimates, remembering that the MSBA provides $1,200 per student as a contribution. It's not apparently meant to furnish your entire building, as we were reminded recently at an MSBA event. Back in the day, it did handle everything, but right now we're looking at about, based on Stifora's estimates, we're like $1,215 per student as we go into this process. And again, we have the ability through bidding to either accept or not accept certain things. All of the equipment that's been requested by facilities, by art, by OTPT is in the budget right now, with the exception of one set of risers that Instrumental Music had requested. But we're going to bid it as an ad alternate. So those things that we know we want, we're going to bid as ad alternates. And again, we still have the power to make the number based on when the bids come in and how we go down and assess everything. So that's in good shape. Just a reminder, so that'll go out in September. We'll have bids coming in end of September, bid review probably early October, with the goal of, by the October SBC meeting, have a pretty good sense of where we are. And we, as with technology, we'll have 2 installation periods, one in February, one at the end of the project, about a year from now. In February, in terms of FF&E, we're getting a few things. We're going to get the kitchen smallwares package, the cafeteria furniture, the kitchen office furniture, and in terms of the addition, we do want to make sure we purchase the technology carts for the teachers, because the technology will start coming in. So technology, pretty much the same exact schedule. We have a meeting next week to kind of go through with Scott Goodrich, our consultant, what things we want when. We don't want all the computers all at once, but we do want to, but we may want them all at once in terms of how they're configured. So we'll sit down with Bill and David Lukaskevitz and Cheryl and Tim and get all of that lined up. But again, that too, procurement will be in early fall. So everything, and that's on budget in terms of hitting that mark, that $1,200 per student. So that's the update with those 2.
Any questions? All right, is there anything else? Probably set a date for the next meeting. I heard was that a groan or what was that?
You sound like a groan. Yeah.
So I had September 14th. Is that?
Okay. That's, it's all right with me.
Yeah.
Yep, 6:30, we'll be back at the, we'll go back to the 10 West State Street or Ben meeting. So, been very inarticulate most of the last 2 weeks. Council on Aging building.
That's the summer regression right there.
Yeah, yeah, I'll sharpen up in another week.
That's why you need summer school, I tell you.
We had a meeting on Monday. I was really good, except when it came to like identifying our chief of police and our highway department superintendent by name. Because I'm so used to calling them by their first names. It's like, well, this is Al and Dave. You know. Otherwise, I was calling like people in the audience by name, and there was a lot of people from Lynn's old neighborhood. But I'm more months. Okay, so that sounds good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
All right.